But if there's a couple watching right now, how do they navigate Christmas, Thanksgiving, those type of deals, where you're kind of split between the two households? What advice would you give people to help navigate that?
For us, it will end up being kind of easy. It's because, Mexicans like to mess up Christmas. So, so it worked out for us. So if you know what I'm talking about, her family were on Christmas Eve, then my family.
Can you clarify for the audience that half your family's married to Mexicans? So please, could you just clarify that? It's not just you married to a Mexican. You got other siblings married to Mexicans. Yeah. So. Hey, welcome to Not a Fit Podcast. It's your boy Anthony Conservative Chicano. What's going on, guys? I got the Bishop. I got the Token. Fresh off of Mother's Day. We score points. How did we do?
I think we got a point.
Oh, you got 8 point? Bishop, did you get 8 point too, or how'd you do?
I don't know. Well.
The jury's out?
I didn't hear anything bad.
So. Hey. If you don't hear anything bad.
Sometimes no news is good news.
A lot of times no news is good news. Let's be honest. But
other times no news is
do you
really
feel like,
bad news.
Yeah, but do you feel like there's some mandatory must on Mother's Day? Like it's a mandatory must you give flowers? Is there an spoken rule here? Do we all know?
I don't think it's a mandatory must. Like my wife, she's not big on flowers. I didn't get her flowers from Mother's
Is it a mandatory must?
I usually get flowers. I didn't get flowers this time.
Okay, but it still was no news, good news. All right, man. It might not be a mandatory must.
Let's move on. Today's Monday.
Today is Monday.
We had a great weekend.
It was a great weekend. It was stellar. Yeah. And, okay. So is it a mandatory is it a mandatory go out to lunch? Either the day before or the day of. Is there a mandatory you have to go out somewhere?
That's probably most scenarios mandatory.
Okay.
I think most moms probably would like to go out, but but not all.
Okay.
Some like to be would rather be cooked.
Okay.
They don't want to be cooked. You know what I'm saying?
I think okay. Is it a mandatory you gotta take them out to lunch or something?
Some type of food. Some type of gathering.
Okay.
Or going somewhere.
Okay. Is it a mandatory you spend as much on your wife as you do your mom?
You should spend more on your wife than you do your mom. I don't even know why we're talking about that.
Well, what if your kids is grown? That's their mom. You have your own mom.
Wait,
what? If your kids are grown, let's say they all over 18. Why would you spend more on your wife still than your own mom when the kids that's their mom? They should be spoiling their mom.
Well, I think that your kids should definitely be spoiling their mom. Yes.
But you feel me on that? You know what I'm saying? They should be doing yes, you take everybody out to lunch, you take everybody out to dinner. Yeah, you get your wife flowers, but they should be spoiling their mom. You should be spoiling your mom. Am I wrong in that?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just not old yet. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm old.
She's the mom of your house.
Well, she's the mom of my kids. I have my mom.
The mom. She's the mom of your house. So you live in the same house, and she's the mom.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is no. You should still be spending more on your wife than your own mom.
You don't live with your mom. You live with your wife.
No. Listen, I'm not arguing that.
I thought that's part of the leaving and cleaving process.
Okay, I agree with what you're saying, but she's still not your mom. She's your kid's mom. But if your kids are grown, they should be spoiling their own mom. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. Both.
Yeah.
Both.
So when your son gets married,
No, he's 18 now. He's 20 now.
No, I'm saying in general. Remember, we're talking about
leave it at
generalities.
All right, generalities. Right.
So if once your son gets older and he gets married and he has kids, should he be spending more on his wife than his mom?
Definitely his wife if the kids is young because he's got to go get it for him. Hey, this is what mama like. Let's go get her something.
We've done this one before.
I don't think we've done this one.
We got in trouble.
Did we get? Am I getting us in trouble now? Because I'll backpedal like Deion Sanders.
Well, I'm not in trouble.
We are. It's simple. It's spend money on your wife. All
right, there we go. We'll leave it at that. There we go. Yeah,
you don't live with your mom anymore.
Yeah, which I agree. But you did stuff for your mom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did stuff for my mom. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I expect my kids to step their game up and spoil their mom. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'll buy dinner. I mean, I spent a fortune yesterday on dinner.
I think that there is a. I think I understand what you're saying.
Okay, go ahead. Are you doing cleanup right now? Are we doing cleanup?
and the emphasis shifts a little bit more to the kids as they get older.
Yes.
And there should be a weight on the kids that they need to do more.
Yeah.
But I don't think that our role necessarily has to diminish.
Not at all. That's what I'm saying. Bro, if you go out to a restaurant and you're taking all your kids who are grown, and let's say they have a girlfriend or a husband, you paying for it? How much do you think you're spending?
Well, I know that a family of 5 is at least probably $150 right now.
Okay, so try a family of 7. What you spending?
$150 because the rest of them got to pay for themselves.
But am I right? You drop it $300-400.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I was going to. But if you're saying you're dropping $300-400 for dinner and you spend $300-400 on some gifts and some flowers and all that, you done spend $700. What they get? That's all I was saying.
You guys got good Mother's Days.
That's no, they 20 still trying to make a gift. Look, Mom, I painted you a rock.
I'm over here taking a loan to have your guys' Mother's Days.
No, I wouldn't take the kids.
But it's Mother's
Think
Day.
smarter. Think smarter, not harder.
Okay, y'all need to leave it in the comments. Leave it in the comments. How do you really go about on Mother's Day when your kids are older? Do the kids bear more of the responsibility, and you still do something for your wife? Of course, as you know, we still got to take care of our moms. It's just a question I have. It's just a thought I had coming off of Mother's Day. So in other news, moving right along. Okay, I had a few people send me this clip, but shout out Liz Guzman. She sent it to me first. I just feel like you guys know me. I think I said it this last week when I was preaching. Sometimes I'd rather laugh than cry. And then when people just send me funny clips and I think they're funny, it's real. Let me ask you something about humor though. Is what makes something really funny is because it's got some truth in it. Would you guys agree with that? Or are certain things just funny because they're funny? What would you say?
Yeah, if you're telling a joke or a story, that has some truth in it.
It's got to have some truth in it, right? Mm-hmm. What'd you say? Yeah?
I don't know if I totally understand the question, but yeah, what
makes it funnier is there some type of truth inside the humor, the joke or the story?
Yeah, that's why like when people are super soft and they can't laugh at themselves, you're just like, man, you should be able to laugh. Like it's funny. It's there. Yes, when there's a little bit of truth and it hurts a little bit. When it hurts a little bit,
got hurt a little bit. Yeah.
That's when it's really good.
Okay, so ready? Watch this.
And again, I would like to say, now you all have to excuse me, but it's the truth. If I'm talking to any of you all and my breath stinking, and we have something here does, I've had to brush my teeth or my tongue. Please, if anybody walk up and give you a mint, don't feel embarrassed. Take it, because they have a reason. So y'all, this is true. I'm not just up here just talking. I'm talking because it's the truth, and it's going around. This thing is going around. And when it's in the streets and every place else, this is my church. I love my church. I was born and reared in this church like many of you. So I'm going to speak the truth whether you like it or not. Amen. And may God bless each and every one of you. Y'all have a blessed day.
Okay, best part of that was the drummer who put his head down because he knew it was being recorded. She said, do not neglect the mint. If somebody's going to give you a mint, you pray for people because your breath stinks.
Just take it.
Okay, too real. Is that true? Is that true? Like that's why we have breath mints and stuff when we pray for people. Like we don't want to be a hindrance.
What did she say? It's in the streets?
Yeah, it's in the streets. Yeah, it's a flag that's in the streets. It's like, yeah, I don't know.
Is this like a kind of like open mic early morning announcements? Like, hey, anybody got anything to say?
Hey, Sister Jackson just came up and just let everybody know.
Yeah. And then he's probably in the back going, what's she going to say today? Oh. What is she going to say today? Everybody knows she's going to say something. And you can't tell her no.
No, you can't.
She's been there for 85 years.
Yeah. Oh, for sure she has.
She's been an usher. She's been part of the ushering team for 65 years. Like, what are you going to tell her?
You're just going to let her talk?
And just wear it.
You got to wear it. Hey, funny though, huh? It's
yeah.
funny. I just would like to say we do try. We always try to breath mints or some bubble gum or something. Because, with the music loud and you're in everybody's face praying, I mean, that happened on Wednesday. And so we had anointing oil and breath mints. That's what we really try to do. Because we try to be conscientious of that. We're not trying to hinder anybody's prayers. I don't even know what that means. That was the funniest part. But shout out Liz Guzman for sending that. Okay. So let's talk about the clip. Oh, by the way, thank you everybody for tuning in last week. Thank you for the comments. Had a lot of people reach out to me with questions about the Antichrist and about that stuff. So it was a really good conversation. Don't forget, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes. You can find us everywhere. But we were talking about that, and Sensible Christian chimed in, and he was right in his comment. And he was talking about, people keep thinking that there's only ever been one Antichrist. And there's been several people who've moved in the spirit of the Antichrist. And so there has to be a delineation between the two. To move in the spirit of Antichrist is anything that's anti-Christ, anything that goes against Christ and his teachings. I think to clear up the confusion, and if you guys want to chime in on this, is there is going to be a person, though. There is going to be a figure who rises up, according to the book of Revelation, that it becomes the sole Antichrist with this false prophet and all that. And after you had mentioned something last week, I don't know if I almost sent you the clip. I don't know if you're aware of it. You said any Muslims who saw him are going to think he's whack too. I guess a lot of Muslims have come after him. It said he's fake. He's all this. He doesn't even follow the tenets of Muhammad, and we want nothing to do with Jews. And everything you had said last week, they were slaying him. I mean, they were murdering him on TikTok and on X and all that stuff. So you were right in that. But in your opinion, how you understand it, don't you feel like, though, that the Antichrist, not the spirit of an Antichrist, but the Antichrist, how is he going to bring those people together then? What is he really going to do? Does that make sense? Because he's going to have to be a great unifier. So as you read it, what does that look like to you?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, you're going to see him, perform signs and this like fake resurrection of the dead. Like he's going to do stuff that's really be convincing to people. I think more convincing than stuff he said. I mean, some of the stuff he just says, it's just so obvious, blatantly. Like you don't know exactly what you're talking about.
So do you think this Antichrist is going to have the signs and wonders so people will believe?
So it's like it seems in scripture, like he's going to be able to do something.
He's going to need something.
People. Yeah, to really convince people.
So he said the black pope, that's what he calls this guy, is not the Antichrist. 1 John 2:18 says, children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard, the Antichrist is coming. So now many Antichrists have come. Therefore, we know that this is not the last hour. So he's just quoting that like, hey, there's a spirit, and then there is going to be the person, which I agree with him. The part that's hard for me is something has to happen because there is going to be and he will have a false prophet. Does that make sense? And I see where everybody's coming from, but it's going to have to be somebody smooth like that. I mean, didn't you think he was articulate? Were you, I don't want to say impressed by him, but did you see how people are impressed by him, the charisma?
A little bit, but like I preached on Tuesday, he talks about like the son of Mary, like that's not like language like Christians use. You're talking about like the only time that's used in scripture is when they actually rejected Jesus.
Right.
Is when he couldn't do miracles there.
Right.
Like you wouldn't use that. Like
okay.
you're totally discrediting Jesus, and it's like you hear it and it's like so obvious to me.
Okay, let me ask you something different. You can chime in if you want to. I just know he always has something to say about Muslims. I've never really heard you here say these. So do you think there is going to be some type of joint union between Christian and Muslims like he was advocating?
I don't see why you would. I mean, they're bastard children. We're the ones from the real lineage of Jesus and the real from Abraham. Like you are cast out. You're from a slave woman. You can come to the side though. You're on the wrong side. Okay. So why would we do that? Why would we be part of the one that was kicked out?
Okay. Do you think that was choice language? I thought that was choice language.
Well, they didn't have a dad, so
yeah.
Dad kicked him out the house.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm not saying. In Old King James, you're very much correct. I'm just saying,
What? No, that's what actually. Was that a bad word?
Well, I don't know. Mike, do you guys use that word?
I mean, I see why you asked him the question.
Yeah. He has deep feelings about this. I'm telling you, he has deep feelings.
But hey, they can come to our side. Come back into the house. You're welcome back in through Jesus.
Oh, welcome home. Welcome home.
Hey, Dad said, "Come home."
Yeah,
come through Jesus. Father Abraham said, "Come on back."
Father Abraham.
I love it.
When we talk about like unifying and what that would look like.
I guess. Do you think the Christians and Muslims would unify? That was.
Well, when we talk about that, I guess I started thinking about like, I think there will be very strong Christians who would be obstinate to that, right? But when we talk about even Christianity now, there's people who say they're Christians and they do some pretty crazy stuff. So I think the spectrum of Christianity is a lot wider, and I could be wrong, but I think the spectrum of Christianity and beliefs inside of people who consider themselves a Christian is a lot bigger now than it used to be.
Okay, I see.
You know, when we have a quote unquote Christian mayor who rides on the float of Gay Pride Parade here in Fresno, and to me that's not exactly a Christian, but anyhow. So the spectrum, going back to the spectrum. So I think that you might get people who are like him who may get swayed. I hope he doesn't, but people like him, let's say.
We started out so good. We were with the plane. The plane hit so much turbulence and stuff. We're in for a rough landing right now. I'm gonna back us out here. You know how you saved us on the whole Mother's Day thing? I'm gonna just back us out. Okay. I do think...
Just pan over to that.
Yeah, side. Pan over. Here we go. Just right here. I do think that as I read this, the Antichrist when he comes, he's going to have to do something to unify. I don't know if that's going to be the unification of Muslims and Christians, Muslims, Jews and Christians. I don't know. But something's going to happen. I just want to throw that out there. There's a lot to be speculated on that. Okay. Anytime I come across a clip that says married couples must watch this, I always think to play it because we're all married. And if there's anything we always need is good, solid marriage advice. Would you agree with that? We always need good, solid marriage advice, right?
Always need a hand up.
We always need a hand up. That's correct.
Well, I don't know about you guys. I always do.
I know. I need all the help I can get, and I've been married here the longest. I still need help because you never arrive when it comes to marriage, okay? So shout out to all the married people and all the future married people, those who want to be married. Watch this clip and tell me what you think.
The moment you say I do, you have no more responsibility between you and your parents. Oh, but my mom wants me to come home for holidays. I don't care what she wants. You're not responsible for meeting her wants. Now, can you choose to go home? Absolutely. But if you make her responsible for your choices, what are you giving her? Authority and power to control you.
So in every relationship, and this is true with parents and children, you can either have a dynamic of control or influence. If you're working toward control, it's guilt, manipulation. If it's influence, it's through love, character, and it's through prioritizing the needs of the kids and the grandkids above yourself. And so what most parents want is a really close relationship, but you'll never get there with control. You'll have a much better odds of achieving that objective if it's about influence. Then you'll be welcomed into their life and you won't have to kick down the door and you won't have to just force yourself in.
Okay. What'd you think about that, Mike? What you got? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that I was talking to a couple just last week who are actually getting ready to get married and talking about the new season that one of the couple's parents is now moving into. Obviously, everybody's going to be moving into it as far as them getting married and like how do you move from being almost a part of the game to just being on the sideline as a parent.
Sure.
And so I thought that was really good as far as, the difference between influence and control really being played out in manipulation a lot of times because I've seen it firsthand with a lot of different couples.
Yeah. What do you think about that dynamic of influence as compared to control?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, as me, I have always had good parents or great parents who didn't try to control me, but were there and I knew loved me. And so I let them have influence in my life because I wanted their influence. So like, okay, how can you guide and lead me? Give me advice. And I think as, a parent, that's something I want. I want my sons and daughters to allow me to keep speaking into their life, but not control them or manipulate them, but them welcome my input and just having that relationship with them that they want that.
But if there's a couple watching right now, how do they navigate Christmas, Thanksgiving, those type of deals, where you're kind of split between the two households? What advice would you give people to help navigate that?
Man, it's be really discussion between you and your wife.
Okay.
It worked out for us. It will end up being kind of easy just because, Mexicans like to mess up Christmas. So so it worked out for us. So if you know what I'm talking about, her family were on Christmas Eve, then my family.
Can you clarify for the audience that half your family's married to Mexicans? Oh, please, could you just clarify that? It's not just you married to a Mexican. You got other siblings married to Mexicans. So this is a whole thing.
So his family all can get together now.
Yeah,
on
exactly.
The holiday.
Yeah. So, you're Team Deshaun on this, huh? Messing up Christmas.
Absolutely.
So
I stand alone. Go
in
ahead.
that aspect, it made it work. It worked out that we spent time with her family on Christmas Eve, and actually spent Christmas Day with my family. So, but we talked about it even as the kids got older and we had kids. It became more complicated because you're packing up stuff, moving stuff around. It's like, and we chose like, okay, this is what we're doing, this is where we're going, and we came to agreement with it. And if people got offended by it, then that was on them.
Okay, piggyback off him because I know you got a lot to say about that too. Not the Mexicans messed up Christmas part, please. Yeah, I'm telling you, yeah, you should have a little gratitude here, yeah.
My kids are always, can we open up the gifts? It's like, it's not Christmas yet. Well, Mom said we could do this. I'm like, Christmas doesn't even. My kids are sleeping in on Christmas. They ain't even waking up in the morning. They don't even care.
Oh, they're ruining your Christmas, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
The whole point of Christmas was to get up and be excited. You're like,
okay.
Man.
My bad. All right.
It's 10 o'clock. They still asleep.
You know, there's only a few subjects you got a lot to say. And between Muslims and Christmas, you got a lot to say. Let me just tell you that right now. And then, of course, it's Spanish rice.
He's very Jesus-centered.
He is. What's the Spanish rice coming at?
Yeah, Jesus was born on the 25th.
He's got a lot to say about Spanish rice, though, too, just so you know. Okay, go ahead. Piggyback, go ahead. I mean,
All right, I'll try to get us back on track here. What I tell couples is, especially ones who are young and kind of like feeling it all out, teamwork makes the dream work.
There you go. Come on.
So, you go through seasons. I mean, even Deshaun was talking about it. Like, you go through seasons in your marriage where you get married and it's just the two of you and it's easy to navigate, and then your kids are younger, and then obviously now your kids are a little older. So I think it's just a matter of like doing things together. So, are we on the same page in regards to how we're going to do this? At the end of the day, it should be us that are feeling good about he and I, because we already talked about that.
Yeah.
It's me and my wife. And like, are we on the same page of what we want to do? Because if we're constantly trying to please other people, like, we always will be sitting in the back seat and not happy. So maybe it's Thanksgiving's at my house this year or my family's, and Christmas is at yours, or we try to do half and half. But I remember when we first got married, we tried to do Thanksgiving with my family and her family on the same day, and we even flew. I was flying from Portland all the way to landed in LA, came here, drove to Turlock. We were trying to make everybody happy. It was bad.
Yeah, it's doing too much.
Yeah. Well, when you're young and you're dumb, And I learned the hard way. So anyway, I would tell people as they're getting married or as they're working out their young infancy years of marriage, it's like, hey, you got to make sure that you guys are happy, that your kids want to do what they want to do, and obviously the honor and everything like that.
Right.
All that will fit in somewhere. So it's not like we're just never going to see our family, but do it on your own terms. Because if you're always playing the game on somebody else's terms, you always lose.
No, I think that's well said. Thanks, guys. I appreciate that. Just encourage. I couldn't agree more. And I'll leave it at this. Y'all two got to talk about it. Come up with a game plan. That's really what it's got to come down to. Okay. Let's talk about this last week's marriage. This last week's message.
We had a new one this week.
Yeah, Since we're on the topic of marriage, how's everybody's marriage doing, right? This last week's message, we talked about Joseph. Can you pull up those 10 tests? Last week, during the sermon, I mentioned there were 10 tests of Joseph. We're going to go ahead and give you that list of 10 things, the 10 tests that Joseph went through. And once again, I didn't have time to talk about all of them. But Pastor Mike, can you go ahead and read off those 10 tests right here? Listen to this, guys.
The pride test, the pit test, the palace, the purity, the prison, the prophetic, the power, the prosperity, the pardon, and the purpose test.
Yeah, those were the 10 tests. And like I said, I could preach a whole week. I could preach a sermon literally every week for 10 weeks on that. But I just want to give everybody that 10 tests. Okay, Bishop, what stood out to you this last weekend during the message? What stood out to you?
A big thing I think was being comfortable with who you are and who God called you to be. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of that, like envy and things, come out of that. Like, you're always comparing yourself, or you're not comfortable in your own skin. You're not comfortable with who God made you to be, or the skills you have. Okay, you're always comparing yourself, or you're hearing people say good things about that person. You think like, what about me? Just because you're not comfortable with who you are. And I think just realizing that, letting God speak to you who you are, not even you defining yourself, but God. What do you have for me? What's my purpose? And being comfortable walking in that, and know that, God has something good for you too. Right. But a lot of times, if you don't trust God that He has something good for you, then you're like, man, I want what they have. Right. Not realizing, a lot of times, talk to someone today, not realizing what it may take, we're talking about like, you don't know what it takes for like a worship leader to like come up with that album or put stuff out. Like what sacrifices did they make, to get to that point, or a pastor to be in that position, what sacrifices did they make to be in that position, you don't know. And so you can look at someone and be envious of it, but you might not want that. So be comfortable with what God gave you.
That's so good. What about you, Toga? What stood out to you?
The envy versus jealousy thing, that was good. Also, you had said, can God trust you with the trial that you're in?
Yeah.
Which brought up another question, which is God waiting on me in any area before he blesses me?
Right.
And knowing that, when I first had kids, so it's been a while now, like I remember being able to see my relationship with God change as now I'm a father. And now as my kids are getting a little bit bigger, wanting to see the best, wanting the best for them, but also understanding like the purpose of timing, and the importance of timing, and understanding like the best for them isn't always right now, even though they want it right now. And there's some things that they've got to do and things that have to happen inside of them in order for like that chapter to close and a new chapter to go on. And so it just made me think like, are there things that that need to still continue to take place in me in order for that blessing that God has for me to really, to really for that chapter to start.
What? Sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that in the mic. The story I told yesterday, besides you guys sitting in the back, I thought that part was funny. But you guys do like to kind of sit near an exit. That part was real.
I just noticed that like the last few times you have interjected us into the story. I mean, we get under the bus just a little bit,
but I don't ride over you. I just put you on.
No, it's like we're hovering. We're holding on, but we're not under the wheels.
Well, this is. I feel I have to for all the Raider comments and football comments you guys do to me. I feel like this is the only way that I could just kind of get back into. But I forget, somebody had come up to me. I'm trying to remember how they said what they said, but basically alluding to like, hey, that sounded like that really sucked, about this person telling me that they were gonna hook me up and they're gonna have me share this testimony in front of all these people, and that never happened. Like that must have really dealt a blow to you. And I said to them, I think the thing that hurt the worst was the fact that it was reiterated in front of you two. Like one thing kind of just to email me or to shoot me a text message, right? But to say it when we weren't even expected to see that person, and they turned around to say it to us. And honestly, as God is my witness, please tell people, I didn't fish for that. I didn't ask about it. I didn't say, hey, are we still going to Florida? You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't fish that at all. It was willingly given. And then we all kind of looked at each other, and they were like, that. They were asking me like, that probably stung the worst, because I told them, I didn't fish for it. And so really like this person was adamant that this was going to happen, then it never happened. Do you guys want to talk on that or whatever? I mean, does that make sense? Like, I don't know how to really respond to that other than it just all sucked, period. But really, I feel like in that season, God was asking me, can I trust you with disappointment? Can I trust in that you're going to be able to deal with this okay? And that I need to walk you through this season, because there's going to be other things that are going to disappoint you in life. And if we can get through this one, this is going to be big. But you guys were there. I didn't fish for that. And even then on the way back, I still wasn't sold 100%. But how did you guys feel when you knew that was going to happen? When they thought I was lying when I said they chose another Mexican. Like that was real though. Like I know that sounded tongue in cheek, but they literally, well, according to you, what you told me was they chose a safe Mexican. That's as you always say, is a safe Mexican. But that is the true story, though. Am I not telling the truth on that?
Yeah, you're telling the truth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you guys process that? You watched me walk through it. Like, do you guys have any thoughts on that and how I process that?
No, I didn't know it affected you as much as until that Sunday when you preached on it. I mean, it makes sense as you explain it.
Do I give off this aura like I'm Teflon Don or something, like nothing really hurts or what?
I think part of it.
A little bit.
Yeah. Oh, I think we could do a better job of recognizing it. I think there's signs to it as I look back on it that are like, okay, I can see now. I can sort of understand maybe when things are bothering you. Yeah. But I think I do look at you in that way, like you're okay. Like you know. And so I don't think I fully understand. And it makes sense why it did bother you, especially during that time.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, he's coming like, I'm going to help you guys.
Yeah.
You know? And like I still think he's a decent guy.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, and it's like, but he came off like, and I think he was genuine like, man, this sucks. You know, he came down, he saw everything, and it sounded like he really wanted to help us out. And so in that time, you really didn't have, you know, there's like maybe one other person really, you know, willing to help you out who has some power. And so, to have that, like, oh man, I'm actually get some help finally, you know, then not sort of like fall through. And he did. He turned around and told you this, and me and Mike were there, and
he actually invited you guys and said, we'll see you there too.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we all going. We're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, I didn't believe that. But.
What about you? What'd you think?
I didn't know, at least I don't remember about them sending you a mistake email.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the story is true. And not seeking it out was true. I think the timing was just really bad timing, you know, in the sense of like everything that was going on at the time. And feeling like, you know, you're in the middle of an ocean, you're drowning, and you finally have somebody who comes up with a boat talking about we could, you know, there's a potential that we could help save you out of this situation. And then they're like, nah, just kidding, you know, and then they drive away.
And for the record, I still talk to this person. I have no animosity, no hard feelings. It's, you know, I think we had talked about it a little bit beforehand. We talked about it after the incident occurred and it was all said and done. And I forgot who said what or whatever, but we had talked about at that time, there was just so much heat on me. And I really wasn't a safe person to have on a platform with all the drama that was surrounding me and all this stuff. So I wasn't mad at that. I realized that with everything we went through, there was a certain stigma that followed me. And, you know, I'm sure plenty of people have their own opinions about me, arrogant, this, whatever. And so despot, you know, that's a more educated term for somebody who's very prideful, arrogant, and stubborn. And so, or a narcissistic leader. So I get it that I probably wasn't the safest person. The only part, I guess the hardest pill to swallow is just tell me. Don't leave me hanging. Just shoot me a text or an email. You don't even have to do a phone call and say, hey, I went to the committee or I went to whoever and we can't platform you. There's just too much heat, too much smoke around you. We can't do it. That's all. And you guys know me. That really was all. And you know, now I look back at it, I didn't get that. And now it really doesn't matter because God had a plan. And I'm able to see there's a purpose in the pain and there's a purpose in the plan. And I'm good with it. You know, Wednesday night, an amazing healing and miracle service. Shout out John and Priscilla Boer, right? A lady came up to Mandy on Sunday talking about she had this incident happen many moons ago, talking 15 plus years. She's had to do certain things to even get healthy, chronic back, neck, just the whole story we all know. And felt like God healed her that night, went home, slept like a baby, expected to wake up a little sore, slept a little too hard, you know, and hasn't had any problems since Wednesday night. Shocked, worked the full shift, felt great afterwards. They said, I don't remember the last time I felt great, especially after a full shift. And I really wanted to be sensitive to the people who didn't get their healing on Wednesday, who are still struggling, had to get up the next day, same problem persisted. And that's why I feel like God has allowed me to go through some things so I can sympathize with people. Like, hey man, I get that. I get it when you're sitting next to a person and they get a blessing you didn't get and you really needed the blessing more. Excuse me. And so I really feel like these type of things that I went through really helped me to relate to people, to sympathize with the sheep, because I am a sheep still, you know, just in God's big pen of sheep. And so I feel like this is important for us. And that's why I use that term. God's got to break you before he can bless you as a leader. And you really got to go through some things so that you can sympathize, so that you can be a sheep and that you can understand what your sheep go through, whether it's the loss of a loved one or a healing and a miracle you're still waiting on. Or you're just in a pit and you feel alone. I get all that. And so I don't know. I just felt like that was something that I'm okay with now. And I really see the life of Joseph as one who's a person who's learned to mature through things. And you could always see a sign of maturity. It's how well they respond in times of tragedy, in times of trials and testings. It's how quick they recoil. You know, I had an incident happen. I look back at it now and I laugh. It was just, I was putting all my heart and soul into a little project I was doing just to watch the project wreck. Like, it just totally wrecked, totally an accident. And it's funny because I have a quick personality. So, like, I may blow up quick, but I also blow it off quick. And one of the things I like to do is I like to go walk. I like to, you know, I'm a total drama. I'm dramatic. Like, this is my Mexican roots for sure. Like, I'm a novella. Like, I'll blow it up real quick. And I had this moment, you know, this brief, like 2.5 minutes of like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. You know, like, just like a novella, you know, just, you know, it's the end of the world. And the other person was talking about, I'm going for a walk. And by the time I was done with my walk and came back, I was totally fine. And they're like, how's that possible? And I'm like, I just got to go for a walk because there's a lot of heart and soul I'm checking. You know, Lord, did I make this an idol? Am I not supposed to have this? You know, do you want me to get rid of it? Like, that's what I really do. And so to me, that's a sign of maturity, like how well you respond to these, how well you recoil, how well you rebound. You got people who are still sitting in things that happened 25 years ago. And you're going to get stuck in that moment. You're going to get stuck in that growth if you don't grow through that. Now, I'm not saying you have to willingly accept it as far as like, you know, act like it never happened, but you do have to deal with it. Does that make sense? And so, like, even with that, I was able to see this person again. No hard feelings. I'm good. Nothing's ever come about it. I've never brought it up, and I probably never will. But these are the growth indicators in your life that really help you to mature. And your life is going to be full of those moments of where you have opportunities to grow. Does that make sense? So anyway, that was the rest of the story on that. I wanted to share that with the people. So, you know, going back to Wednesday night now. What did you guys think of Wednesday night? I know both of you have not grown up in charismatic churches, but what did you feel like? I thought Pastor John did a great job of not making it weird. Like, I mean, he's telling you his healing was on a bathroom floor. Like, if that does not, you know, make it sound normal, I don't know what does. But were you guys nervous to pray with people at all? Or were you surprised at the response of people and how hungry people are for healings? Or just give me some of your thoughts. What you got, Token?
Yeah, I mean, a little disappointed we didn't have any snakes. Thought we would at least.
So for healing and miracle service, you got to handle one or two of them, huh?
Man, what kind of fake church is this?
Yeah. But do you feel like we handled that pretty common?
Yeah, I think that it's a very welcoming space for somebody who's coming and needing and believing that God's going to heal them. It's not overly. You're not there. There wasn't a focus on anything else except for the Lord.
Love it.
And so I think I mean I've been in services before where, you know, people start to get loud, or, you know, you've got people yelling over here in tongues, and maybe that's like their cup of tea or whatever. But as you watch the room, like, you can see the room start to like get uneasy, or people are starting to look at different people, and all of a sudden it's like you've lost the focus.
Yeah.
I think it was really cool that we were able to continue to have worship being played, because it was allowing people to continue to focus on God. It was a really cool experience, especially for somebody who doesn't have like a whole lot of experience in that.
What about you, Bishop? Coming from more of a Baptist background, you know, I don't know if you've been to any full on like real Pentecostal churches, like extra Pentecostal, not necessarily snakes, but all the stuff that comes with it, right? All the extras, as we would say. Have you been to anything like that before? An extreme
where they like
Pentecostal?
place their hand on your head,
and
like
they push you a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
No, and then you square up, and you're like, "Hey, what?"
You square up. Is that what you do? You square up.
Why did you do that?
Okay.
Why did you do that?
Okay.
You didn't. You didn't need to do that.
Okay.
That just happened to me one time. That's it.
Okay. What'd you think? I mean, like I said, coming from more conservative, traditional Baptist, what?
Yeah, but everyone. I don't know if everyone believes that you can pray for healing. Like, someone's sick, like in a Baptist church, you pray for the person.
Oh,
so that's the whole part. I don't fully understand.
Okay, I went to a traditional Baptist church, and if I can just delineate, it wasn't a black Baptist church. It was more of a white Baptist church. I never heard anybody ask or talk about healing. I'm just throwing that out there. So that's all what I have That's what all the context I got.
They just be praying that they die already.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
you say people pray for you, but then they might not say the word healing. But
Okay.
I don't know. And so, I mean, it was fine. I mean, people just walked up and we prayed for them.
Yeah.
Like,
So what I'm hearing you say is even the church you grew up in. So for you, was the church you grew up in, so you see people pray for healing and stuff. So what was it then in your church that, was definitely more of the Baptist? So was it the women in ministry and then the tongues, basically?
Yeah, I'm thinking those are the only two. I mean, there's other things. Those are two big things.
Those would be the two. If we can say demonstrative or existential outward things. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. I've seen this not coming, but I've seen little hints of it. Mark Driscoll was the first person who I ever said, hey, I'm a charismatic with a seatbelt on. He's definitely a reformer. I should say definitely, but he has reformer tendencies. And then he'll say he's a reformer minus a couple of the 5 tulips. You know what I mean? The 5 points. I say all that because I see something happening. And if I could just piggyback off what you're saying, I do see a lot more people who are from the Reform camp. Reformer just meaning you're a Baptist, but you have a Reformed theology, as in there's a couple things that you are in the middle of the stance on. And one of those is I see a lot more talking about healing. Hey, God can heal. There's something that's going on. And I thought, I want to show you a clip. I believe his name is Doug Wilson. He is a reformer. He'll tell you that. But I follow him on X. He's always got some pretty good little like one-liners and stuff. And he has another one here that I think he's preaching at a missions conference for reformers, Reformed theology people. And he says something, and I thought it was really good. I thought it's worth mentioning. So I think God is stirring the water on some things. And I just want you to watch this.
The Reformed have a marvelous fireplace and a mantelpiece. Beautiful. It's a carved oak mantelpiece, intricate, wonderful, great, and there's brick lined, and the problem is there's no fire. Because we keep it clean. We had fires occasionally, but then we had to clean it out, and now we don't want to do that. So this is a pristine fireplace. Meanwhile, our charismatic friends at Knee Deep in Glory Worship Center are lighting fires on the coffee table and on the couch. and we look at that and say, that's just bad. That's just bad. Well, but at least they know there's supposed to be a fire. At least they are warm for a little bit before the house burns down. And so what we should say is, okay, why don't we take this fire and put it in the fireplace?
I think he brings up a very good point. What'd you think about that? Talk about a subtle jab at you. He said at least they know there's supposed to be a fire. I thought that was good. Can we find balance is the question. And then do you think we do a good enough job of our balance here, or can we be more balanced? I'm just asking you.
I mean, for him, I guess it's to be, what's your theology? I mean, it starts with that. I mean, what do you believe?
But do we serve theology, or does theology serve us?
Well, your theology should come out of, what the truth is. I mean, that's a whole goal. You're trying to find the truth. So, what's the truth? And so either they believe this to be true or not to be true. And from there, I think you sort of can decide, because obviously we all know there's supposed to be this fire. I mean, Timothy fell into flame, and so it's this idea that there is supposed to be this passion, there should be this mood, there should be this desire. You want things happening. So, I mean, as your church is growing, there's going to be this mess. Like, there's going to be some of these things aren't in place. There's going to be...
So the couch is on fire, stuff like that.
New believers, there's going to be, things going on that aren't perfect, And so I think realizing that and not being so stringent about things, but allow God to actually move and people to get saved, and allowing people who maybe, aren't ready for certain things, but they're there and they're willing to serve the Lord, and let them make some mistakes. Yeah. And so, talk about like, they'll let, someone, younger preach or things like that, like, or lead something. It may cause the issue that you have to go fix, but you let people move forward in their faith. And so not be so, it has to be this by this rule. You have to have this degree to do this, whatever it may be.
Okay. What about you? What'd you think? What'd you think he was saying?
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder, like, practically how it all plays out for people in these camps, because I think the extremes on both ends are just too much. But then, like, where do you find yourself in the middle? And then we've talked about it before, like wanting to be a church that's very open and welcoming to those who are new believers, but then also at the same time being a church that people who really want to dive deep, have a place to be. And so when it comes to like, presenting something like this, where do you land? Do you go? Because like if I was at a church where it was like super charismatic, like I'm out.
Right. It's too much for you.
It's too much for me.
Okay. Emotionalism. Sure.
Yeah. Like if their flags are waving and they're landing airplanes, I'm gone.
Okay.
But then I guess on the.
But you got no problem if somebody else wants to go to that church. Like,
no,
hey, that's you. Go ahead and go.
Right, but it's like, okay, but what I guess as a church, like, what is your, what is your direction, or what do you feel like your mission is in regards to those who are coming into your church? Because is it for those who are lost? Is it for those who are seasoned? Like, how does?
Sure.
So I guess when I'm listening to him, for me, my mind is just like, how does this all play out? Because it does sound like he definitely believes that there's got to be some type of middle ground.
That's what I'm going for.
So what does the middle ground look like?
Do you think, Bishop, some pastors have gotten it wrong, being too far extreme on certain sides instead of just going, hey, let's find some commonality? Do you think pastors have done a disservice by going too far? We got the one pastor who's prophesying a hurricane before the remember the election. And if I'm wrong, I'm done. Well, you was wrong.
And then the dude who got bit by the snake
and then the dude who got bit by the snake and died. Do you think? And then you got other people going, nope, not even going to pray for healing because it's just not going to happen. Do you think as pastors we always get it right and sometimes we make a mistake and just we have to kind of course correct ourselves, or what? Is there a radical middle?
Man, I mean, still a lot's going to come down to what do you believe? But
okay.
That's going to take a lot.
But okay, do pastors' theology sometimes morph a little bit?
Maybe throughout their experiences. Because you're going to have a lot of Reformed people who are, that's just who they are. I mean, they know that they're going to be more uptight, more strict. This is what it is, period. Okay. And so there's no middle ground. There's no movement there. To compare to charismatics, who are going to be more, like you're saying, they're willing to like, let's just go try it. Let's go start some fires. And so,
right.
I think even with, Reformers and Baptists and things like that, they still will say like, hey, God called me into the ministry. Okay, what was that? Yeah. So you certain, that's what I'm saying. A lot of times they use the same certain language, and then when it comes down to like they're actually living it out, and I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Did God speak to you? How did He call you into ministry?
Yeah, you're right.
And so a lot of times I don't fully understand like some of the rigidity, how rigid they are.
Do you think they're just timid because if they open up that door, they think the floodgates are going to open in it? Or what are you thinking?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Yes.
The only reason I asked is I got a clip. You guys know I respect Wes Huff. You guys know I'm a big fan. You already know that. I play a lot of his stuff. I listen to a lot of what he has to say. The guy's solid. In my opinion, the guy's solid. And talking about hesitancy, I want you to watch this clip, and I think this is interesting. So watch this one.
What's your perspective on cessationism versus continuationism?
I used to call myself a cessationist, but I think I was defining it incorrectly. I would say that the miraculous sign gifts of things like prophecy and healing and speaking in tongues, I think they've ceased in their normative function as it was designed for the foundation of the building of the church. But they obviously still happen because I believe I was healed. So I think that those things are still an ongoing process that God uses. I just don't think that they're normative for the life of the believer in the same way that they were in the time of the apostolic community. That was designed to build the foundation. And when you build a building, you don't continue to build a foundation on top of a foundation on top of a foundation, because that actually compromises the stability of the building. So I think when we look at the New Testament in the apostolic era, we're seeing something very different, and that people shouldn't be healed by our shadows today.
Yeah.
However, I have seen things in my own journey and when I was, doing short-term missions work after I graduated high school, where you just can't deny that those things are actually happening today. I am fully reformed with a capital R, and I would say that the spiritual sign gifts have ceased in their normativity, but I think they almost certainly happen today.
So I like what he said. I was healed. The man with an argument is never at the mercy of a man. Or excuse me, the man with the testimony is never at the mercy of a man with an argument. He can't argue what God did for him. God healed him. What did you think about him walking that fine line, though, Bishop, of saying the normal? Like, this isn't the normal, the normativity. This is how it's going to go about.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
What do you 100% agree? Go ahead. Break it down.
I think it's different than what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like you were saying,
like the shadow part, like you're not just gonna walk by somebody's shadow and it's gonna heal you. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you don't see things happen as this in the same way as I did back then.
Okay. Now, question to you.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So I had a coworker who was a pastor in the off season because we were working in a school together. So like summertime, Christmas break, he's from Indonesia, and he would always go back to Indonesia. And when he would go back to Indonesia, he'd be a part of like these big revivals and things like that. And super cool dude. And he said, "Hey, you ever wonder why you guys don't see miracles in the U.S. Like we do in Indonesia?" And I said, "Well, why?" I never really thought about it, but go ahead. I never been to Indonesia. You tell me. And he says, because here you don't need it.
Yeah.
He was like, over there, like we see stuff like crazy because we don't have all the medicine that's needed, and we don't have. And he just starts listing all these different things.
Sure.
And he's like, the need and the desire to have those miracles. It's just not needed and desired here as it is in maybe other third world countries or in Indonesia. So anyway, as he was saying that, and as kind of like as you were saying that, it just brought to mind like, maybe we don't see it. Maybe it's not normative to us, as he was maybe. But then I also had a question about his vocabulary choice of normal and normative. But it's like maybe we don't see it because we don't need it.
I do. This is where I even struggle, right? Because I agree and I don't agree, and I disagree and then I don't disagree. I feel like I don't want to put God in a box. I don't want to limit him in the sense of, God, I believe you could do anything. But I also don't want to be the wackadoodle out there who's just being all crazy and all stupid and naming his angel and his angel is going to bring him money. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to be that guy where you have to have a cliche, whether it's touch or get up or I'm not trying to do that. There's not a demon behind every doorknob type of deal. But I do want to leave room for the possibility of miracles. I've just seen some things. I still got kids. They're grown adults now, who remember riding in the car with me when they saw this guy have an epileptic, I think I said that right, seizure, and he smacked his head on the curb. And he was a homeless guy, and nobody was stopping to help him. We pulled over. I was picking up kids for youth group. We got out the car, and I prayed for him. I said, it was an Ezekiel passage. I'd have to look it up. It said, I saw thee in thy blood, and I spoke to you. You will live, and the bleeding will cease. Bro, I kid you not. The second I prayed that prayer, healed, and the guy came to. The kids freaked out. It was all the talk of the youth group. Yo, Pastor Ant prayed for this guy. He was healed. It was nuts. And I'm like, Pastor Ant ain't got nothing to do with it. Like, it does not me as God. I mean, kids were coming to youth. I mean, it was nuts. I remember being in Modesto and praying for this guy who had flesh-eating bacteria disease. And an elder of the church, it was his son. His son was a hardcore heroin addict. And like he came up to me one day and he goes, "Hey, I was just looking for one of the pastors." I go, I'm here. His name was Jack. I'm here, Jack. He goes, "Can you go pray for my son? He's going to die. They're going to take him off." He was on a ventilator. They said they're going to take him off today, and that's it. He's going to die. And we're going to go later on this afternoon. We're going to go get the casket. We're making plans. This was on Wednesday. And it was like a Wednesday morning. And I'm like, I got to go? I mean, I heard about this flesh-eating bacteria. I ain't trying to get none. And so they got him all isolated, ICU, quarantined off. Man, they're like, you have to put on a jumpsuit to go in. I'm like, I want to go in. I even told the Lord, I'll pray from the door. Like, I mean, if you got, you go heal him, you go heal him any which way. I'll pray through a door. I just felt like the Lord said, no, you got to go in. And so I go in, and he's like withered away. Half his side was eaten up. Like everything was eaten up. And I felt like the Lord said, I want you to lay hands on him. And I'm like, I ain't touching this fool for nothing. Like, you asking way too much of me right now. I don't care if I've got gloves. There ain't enough stuff on me right now to touch this guy. I'm not trying to go home with this. So I said the weakest, cheapest prayer you have ever heard in your entire life. I didn't feel no Holy Ghost. I don't even think the angels paid attention. It didn't move the needle of nothing. I was thinking, what's the fastest, cheapest prayer I can just, I was scared. I got in the elevator. I felt so condemned. Like, oh my gosh, that prayer couldn't fight its way out of a wet paper sack right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt horrible. I'm sitting in church. You go like, it's back old school when the pastors had to sit on the platform. You ever remember those days? Pastors had to sit on the platform, all dressed in their suits, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting down there, and I look up, and Jack, old man Jack, is coming walking through the front doors of the church because I could see him. And I'm thinking, snap, his son must have died. I put my head down. I'm like, it's my fault. I didn't have the prayer for anything. It's my fault. And the part we old school charismatic. We had testimony time. Like you get to get up and share a testimony. And old man Jack, like nobody ever told him no. Going back to the sister in the video, he gets up and when he get real excited, he take his teeth out because he had false teeth. Because he could, we at church. So I saw him go to reach to take his teeth out. He took his teeth out, and I'm thinking, oh man, he gonna start crying. His son died. It's all my fault. And he starts off with, and he get moving his arm like this. He was old, bro. He's probably 80-something years old. He got to moving his arm. He goes, Pastor, you never gonna believe it in the church. Never gonna believe it. You know, we were a talkback church. And he goes, my son is alive. And my head was down in my hands like this. I go, I said,
alive in Christ.
Yeah. I turned over to the assistant pastor. I go, yo, Mac, what did he say? Did he just say my son just died? Or he goes, nah, I think he said alive. I go, there's no way. Like that. I even told him there's no way. And he goes, and Jack gets going. He goes, we can't believe it. We took him off life support, whatever he said, 2 or 3 o'clock, whatever. We thought for sure he was going to die in the first 10 minutes. And all of a sudden, his heart just started beeping. And beeping and beeping and steady. And he woke up. I literally looked over at Mac and I said, somebody must have prayed after me because it definitely wasn't me. Somebody else must have came in with some oil or something. It wasn't me. Long story short, he got out of the hospital the next day. Infection gone, resuscitated, the whole nine, crazy. Fast forward a few months later, Jack needed me to take him home. He lived a couple miles away, and he had forgotten a tool or something that I had to go help him with, right? I take him home, and I get out the car, and I'm talking to somebody who's at Jack's house, and I recognize these other people. I don't know them, but I know they know him, if that makes any sense. I'm talking to this person, and this guy stops me, and he walks over to me and goes, hey, I know you. And I'm like, well, I know your dad. Like, I mean, I assumed it was his dad. Like, I know Jack. He goes, no. I know you sound so familiar. And I'm like, well, I mean, they record me sometimes when I preach. Nah. He goes, hey, you're the guy. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not that guy. No, I don't know. You know, Stockton and Modesto kind of close. I don't know.
Yeah.
You the guy. I don't know where we're going with this.
You stole his car.
Yeah. I don't know what was going on or something. And he goes, no, you prayed for me. And I'm thinking, he heard that? Oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. Like he heard my prayer. Like I'm just melting right now. And he goes, can I tell you something? And I'm thinking, bro, anything you got to tell me, I'll own it. Like I know I suck. It was horrible. Like it didn't move the needle of heaven. He goes, the moment you touched my hand, he goes, I felt life come back in my body. That's why I'm a firm, you guys have heard me say this. I'm a firm believer. It's not you. It's not you. If God is going to do something, he just needs a vessel. But it's not you. I prayed the sorriest, weakest prayer. I held like his pinky, bro. I'm not even going to lie. I'm not going to be like, oh, I grabbed his hand and held firmly. Heck no. I was like, hopefully no one can get me. You know, like, but if God's going to do something, he just needs you to be a vessel. That's why I hold out. And that's why, to be honest with you, Bishop, that's why I say it doesn't got to get weird. It doesn't got to be weird because if God can use the weakest, sorriest prayer, he can use anybody. I mean, it's my full confession. And I'm telling you right now, God is going to do what he's going to do. And that's why I tell people all the time. I'm telling you, when I first heard that quote, the guy with the testimony is never at the mercy of a man with the argument, I knew to be real. And that's why I still pray for signs and wonders today. And I do agree with you that it's not going to look like some of the Philip, transported and all that. But I'm also okay with if God does do something different. I'm okay with this still. Now, depending on who the person's telling the story, right? But I'm okay, and I do believe God still can. I just don't know that he's doing it today. Is that make any sense?
Yeah. I mean, his whole idea is that it's not normative. It's not the normal thing that God builds a church upon anymore. It doesn't.
Correct.
It doesn't start.
Correct.
the whole goal is for people to come to Christ, not
Right.
for necessarily people to necessarily be healed, but it's like for people to come to realize who He is and be born again.
Right.
And, you know, to have this new life in Christ. And yeah, I mean, we want to see those miracle things happen, but it doesn't have to be that. I mean, someone coming to Christ, this is a huge thing.
I want to emphasize something you said, because it is an emphatic truth. The foundation that we build on is we built on the resurrection of Christ. It's not on healings and miracles. You're 100% right. I will never. That's why I really feel like breath and bones. We need the Spirit of God moving, but we need the bones, the structure of God's word. We're building on God's word. We're building on the foundation of Christ. You know, came of a virgin birth, died and paid for my sins, and it was raised back to life on the third day. That's the foundation we're building on. So if God doesn't do another miracle from here on out, we know we built on good foundation. But I sure do like it when He does the miracles. So as pastors, I know we get it wrong, and I want to show you guys something that I was caught off guard. It took all of my Twitter feed by storm, my X feed by storm, because I follow a lot of Christians on there, a lot of like apologists and stuff. And Pastor Jimmy Evans, and I don't think there's a bigger fan of Pastor Jimmy Evans than me on this panel right here. I mean, I know you guys like him, but I think technically my wife is the biggest fan, if we're being technical. She loves Dr. Jimmy Evans. I want to get you guys' opinion on something if I can. It's a short clip. It's about 1.5 minutes, minute and 40 seconds. But he says some things that I don't know. I was left with, I don't know how I feel about this. I want you to watch the clip, but warning, this might get some people a little sideways. They might look out of the side eye. Kind of like how when I made the Stephen comment the other week, you kind of looked at me, Bishop. I want to get your thoughts on this right here.
Submit to authority. Did you know that sometimes God will tell an authority something He won't tell you? Just for the purpose of making sure that you know you won't get everything God has unless you're submitted to authority? Let me give you the example. Jesus, it says He was 12, but He was turning 13. He was becoming a man. He was bar mitzvahing. And His family had come to the feast, and they were going home, and Jesus didn't tell His family, but He stayed behind. It was Home Alone version 1. Okay. So Jesus stays back in Jerusalem. His family leaves. After several days, they notice He's not there. And they come back to find Him. And Mary finally finds Him in the temple, and He's talking to all these high priests and everything. And she's saying, honey, what in the world are you doing? And Jesus very indignantly said, Mother, I must be about my Father's business. He was wrong. The Son of God. God had disclosed, God the Father, He co-parented Jesus with Mary. He disclosed something to Mary He didn't to Jesus. Jesus was not in rebellion. He didn't sin. He was very sincere. Mary took Jesus home for 17 years. Then at the wedding of Cana in Galilee, Jesus was 30 years old. He wasn't ready to go into the ministry. Mary told Him to help him make wine. Jesus said, woman, what do I have to do with you? No, Mom, get off my back. You know, I'm a carpenter. What do I have to do? And Mary's saying, no, honey, your ministry starts here today. Twice, His mother told Him something He didn't know. Authority, God is going to use authority in your life sometimes to say something to you that you don't know on your own. By the way, when Jesus went into the ministry, for 3.5 years He ministered, Jesus said in John 5, I do nothing unless I see my Father doing it. There was never a day in the life of the Son of God He wasn't submitted.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
I mean, I don't fully understand it, like the verses he used and how his mom was correcting him. Like, there was no sense of the mom correcting him, Mary correcting him. He decided to be my Father's business. But there was no correction there. He didn't say, I got it wrong. She didn't say, you got it wrong. So, I mean, to make that assumption, I think it's out of nowhere. It's out of thin air.
You look just as puzzled as I am.
I was trying to figure out. So the point that he's making is that it has to do with authority, correct? And like,
well, he said there's times God will tell the authority before He tells you.
So, but what did that have to do with him being at the temple?
Well, because his mom had revelation of who he was, but he didn't have a revelation of who he was.
Yeah, but she ain't say nothing.
Exactly.
We're anxious, like we were looking for you, and he said, "Be about my father's. You need to be about my father's business."
Well, it was their fault they lost Jesus in the first place. You got to keep track of your kids, right?
You know, yes, you do have to keep track.
Correct. Yes, correct.
Okay, y'all got some youngins. Y'all better say yes to this. How are you wrong and you don't sin?
Yeah, and this also you had told us about this, and I was worried. I was a lot worried, and I think that's why I wasn't so worried because you said he didn't sin. I'm like, all right, he didn't jump off the deep end. So,
well, we need to put some water though. We need some water.
Yeah. Well,
how are you wrong and not sin? I don't understand that part. I need him to elaborate on this. I mean, he's a much smarter guy than me. I get it.
Well, I mean, this is pretty basic. Yeah, it's pretty basic.
Okay, and where do you get Jesus didn't know at 30 what he was called to do? Where did he get that at? What verse is there?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard these scriptures preached.
Not ready for ministry? Help me to understand. Is the word today perplexed? Are we perplexed?
I think part of our perplexion
okay
is that I think we all trust him.
Okay, he's right. Had this been who is it, Jamal Bryant or whoever that farce is, we heresy.
Well, I'm not confused. He's wrong.
Okay,
like I'll tell him that to his face. I mean,
but I think the perplexion is like, where's he going with this? Like, what is he not sharing? Because he's a lot smarter than I am. It's like, what is he not sharing? Because it does.
All right, I'm still stuck on.
Seem like you're missing it here.
Bishop just said he's wrong, and I would tell him to his face. Did you see my face? My face was like.
No, I understand. He's saying like, hey, sometimes authority knows more than you do, and you have to trust the authority that God puts in your life. That I agree with. You just use the wrong scripture to try to prove your point.
No, you used the wrong person to try to prove your point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you used the wrong person. Yeah. Okay, the one at 12, I can be like, nah, okay, it's a stretch, but at least I can see it. The one at 30, I can't see it all.
Well, just using Jesus to make the example that you miss it is.
But my question is, when was Jesus supposed? He had to wait till he's 30. All rabbis waited till they were 30s, till they were 30. What was he going to come out at 29, 28, and say, now I'm ready for my ministry? He had a 3-year run, actually technically less than 3-year run. That was it. I don't help me. I don't know where he got that. Like I had to write it down here. Like I had to make little notes. I mean, I'm not going to tell him he's wrong. That was bold. I mean, but I got your back. I'm going to be that guy who's got your back. I'm going to be way back, but I got your back. Get him, D. Get him.
Well, no, get it right. It's not bold when you know you're right. Like we all agree that's not there.
Okay, like, we agree right here. But if he was here, I don't know.
No, you just read it. It's missing. That he put out of thin air.
He did.
We're not seeing what you're seeing.
Yeah,
here.
We're not seeing for sure what he's seeing.
We believe that what you're saying is a little wrong, but
yeah. He's wrong though, huh?
Yeah, it's not there. I mean, his overall what he's trying to teach is correct.
But it's hard to know what people are thinking when they did this, huh? It's hard to know.
Yeah, when he tried to find something.
Doing too much with the verse.
Yeah.
Couldn't he have just left it off and not even brought this up? He could have just left it alone.
Yeah.
Right.
So sometimes your parents know more than you do.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust them that they're there for you. They're caring for you. Like I agree
can
with
we use a Samuel example? Where his mom knew, Hannah knew already that Samuel had a call. What about a Samson example where his parents knew?
Yeah,
I can give you 100 other examples. But we bring in Jesus into this, and they were saying he got it wrong, he missed it, he didn't know, God kept it from him. So you mean Jesus is 30 and Jesus ain't got a clue to who he is and why he's here?
It becomes a very slippery slope.
But even that one you could argue more than what he said. That maybe Jesus didn't know everything. Not that he got it wrong, but there was times he didn't know. He only did what the Father told him to do. So I'm saying you can at least argue that more.
Okay.
What he's arguing is like no,
okay.
But you can argue that Jesus laid down some of his divinity that he didn't always know what the next step was.
Okay. I'm
not saying it's right, but you can at least argue that.
No, I can see where you get that argument. Yeah. All I'm saying is this: Jesus obviously knew he could turn water into wine because he told him to do it. So he obviously knew some of the capabilities he had. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not he felt like it was the time, I don't know, man. That to me, that just opens up a whole lot of speculation. I just feel like I wasn't feeling that. I feel like Pastor Jimmy, You're a smart man. You, Dr. Jimmy Evans, you the man on a lot of things. You've helped me immensely in my life. I just don't know about this one. I'm going to have to go. This is a mulligan. Mulligan, right? For the golf term, it's a mulligan. This is a mulligan.
Yep, he gets to shoot again.
He gets to shoot again. I think he needs. Do you think he needs to come back and clarify this a little bit?
Yeah, everyone makes mistakes.
No, I quoted the wrong verse the other day. I had the wrong chapter.
Yep.
So we make mistakes.
Him and the Pope, they both make mistakes.
We all make mistakes. We have made mistakes. But does this make sense? Does he need to come back and clean this up?
People probably ain't gonna remember.
Oh no! They were killing him on this.
Oh, okay.
Like,
Yeah,
But he got a good track record, so they'll kill him for a couple days and then get over it.
Okay. But do you think he should come clean this up?
He could care less, probably.
Okay. That's probably true.
If his church feels like he needs to come back, and
They still buy my DVDs.
Yeah.
They still buying my marriage stuff. It'd be all right.
Yeah, it'd be all right. Okay. All right. So we always try to leave with something positive. I found this. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. I think this is going to bless your life. Watch this right here.
Happiest people pay attention to four things every day. They pay attention to their faith or life philosophy, things transcendent to them. You're getting that through your meditation. I'm getting that through my religion. Right. Some people get that by studying the fugues of Johann Sebastian Bach or walking in nature without devices in the Brahma Muhurta, the creator's time. But you got to do it. You got to do something where you're little and the universe is large, because that gives you peace and perspective. Second is family. Family is a mystical bond. And if you don't have that, you're going to be in trouble. The third is friendship. It's really, really important that you're not utilitarian about your friendships. You need to spend the time and do the work to have people who just love you, who are useless to you, and you're useless to them. You simply can't get the happiness that comes from true, intimate, love-based friendships. And last but not least is work. And all that matters with work is earning your success, creating value with your life, and being fairly evaluated on the basis of the value that you're creating is life affirming. But the bottom line to remember is faith, family, friends, and work.
Okay, so what did you guys think? Faith, family, friendship, and work. What would you encourage as we close this week's episode? What would you encourage people to work on? And this could just be a personal preference. You know, maybe they can work harder. Maybe they can work on their friendships. Maybe they should be a better employee at their job. What would you just, we'll start with you, Token. You can pick anyone, family, faith, friendship, or work. What would you encourage them to go ahead and improve on? What would you say to them?
I'll go ahead and choose friendship. I think that as I'm getting older and I'm seeing my peers get older, and then also now being able to see like a next, like we'll call it a generation behind me, kind of getting older and establishing family and establishing career. I think friendship may be the one out of the four that we might put on the back burner. It's something that we probably feel like we don't need to invest in enough. And so I would just encourage people to get involved in friendships that are helping to promote the other three. So get involved in friendships that are helping to promote your faith, your family, and to make sure that you get a good job.
All right. What you got, Bishop?
I do agree with Mike. That's probably the thing I work on the least is friendship. If I need to work on that, but I'll talk about family anyways. But I'm personally just working on this being, just my family, my kids and my wife, and just being there. I always talk about, it's easy being a bad parent. It's easy to be lazy. It's easy, But being a good parent is hard. It's difficult. It is work. Like being there, being active, talking to your kids and to your spouse. Like those things can be difficult. You want to be selfish, and so really being mindful of the little things. Like my kids want to play like board games, and so it's like playing like checkers and chess with them. Like get up and doing those things with them, or playing little like games with them. Realize like what they want. Like I saw a couple weeks ago, I sat down with them, was like, what do you guys want to do more of? And doing that and actually trying to do it with them, and not being that lazy parent.
Hey, I think both of you did a great job in explaining that. I really like this week's episode of the podcast. A lot of deep stuff there. I want to go ahead and talk about work. And the reason I want to do that is I do talk to a lot of people, and I know you guys do too, that they're not completely satisfied with their job, or they're not satisfied with the pay that they get at their job. I think we've all heard that. I want to encourage two things. Number one is I want to encourage you to find the job that you enjoy, that you can see yourself working there long term, that there's a place for advancement, there's a place for you to make a good, solid connection. And then you should be the type of employee that you would hire yourself. That means I'm going to give you the golden 3 rules that I live by when I worked in any job. Rule number one is always show up early. Don't ever just be the person who just shows up on time. I would always say 5 minutes early is on time and on time is late. And I encourage that because you never know what you're going to encounter along the way. So you may get a flat tire. You may see somebody who needs a hand. You may get lost one day. You just never know. You may get rerouted through traffic. You never know what's going on, but you want to show up early. Number 2, show up ready to work. Have the tools, have the mindset, have the capacity. Just be ready to work hard. That's it. Go the extra mile when you're working there. If they expect you to get it done in 2 hours and you get it done in an hour and 45, don't just cruise for the other 15 minutes. Go let them know, hey, I was able to get that done earlier. Is there anything else you'd want me to do? And number 3, always speak well of your employer. Don't ever get caught up in the cheese maid. Don't get caught up in the drama. Speak well of your employer. Even if they're doing you wrong, find something positive that you could speak well on. Say something nice about them. Let them know that you're there, that you are there to watch their back and to be the best role model and employee you possibly can be. Now you may say, well, what if I'm being treated unfairly? Take it to God. God is your vindicator. Then you'll see that God will open up a door where you'll be able to voice your frustrations. You'll be able to voice what's going on. But if you do these 3 things, I can guarantee you one thing, you'll never be the lowest paid person and you will always be the person getting promoted. Why? Because these 3 makeups, and there's more, but these 3 in particular is going to make you an all-star. This has been the Not Offended Podcast. Peace. We're out.